Good evening, everyone. I have pleasure in opening the ordinary council meeting of the 23rd of July 2024 at 6:30 p.m. and welcome all those in attendance. I wish to inform you that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded. The video will appear on Council's website and YouTube channel. The public gallery will not be recorded unless accidentally, and only a participant in the meeting, namely a person asking questions at public question time, will be live streamed and recorded. If you wish to ask a question at public question time, your voice and image will be recorded and live streamed. If you do not consent to your voice and image being recorded and live streamed to the public, then you may need to consider leaving the meeting. By staying at this meeting, you consent to your voice and image being live streamed and recorded. No other electronic, visual or audio recording device or instrument can be used to record the proceedings of this meeting without prior written permission from the Council, as outlined in the City of Belmont Standing Orders, Local Law 2017, Section 8.17. Acknowledgement of country. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people as traditional owners of this land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I further acknowledge their cultural heritage, beliefs, connection and relationship with this land which continues today. Councillor Sessions, would you please read aloud the affirmation of civic duty and responsibility on behalf of councillors and officers present?
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I make this affirmation in good faith and declare that I will duly, faithfully, honestly and with integrity fulfil the duties of my office for all the people in the City of Belmont according to the best of my judgment and ability. I will observe the City's Code of Conduct and Standing Orders to ensure efficient, effective and orderly decision-making within this forum.
Thank you, Councillor Sessions. Apologies. We've received an apology from Mr Christie, Chief Executive Officer. Leave of absence. I note that Councillor VJ is currently on leave of absence. Declarations of interest. Will the Coordinator of Governance please advise those declarations made to date? Financial interests.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I can confirm that all councillors present have declared a financial interest in item 13.2.1, Notice of Motion, Elected Members Training and Professional Development Budget. But as required by section 5.693 of the Local Government Act, all elected members have received approval from the Minister to fully participate in the discussion and decision-making in relation to this agenda item 13.2.1. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. 3.2, disclosure of interest affecting impartiality.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I have a few this evening. Firstly, Councillor Sessions, item 12.1, the Local Planning Policy number 19, short-term rental accommodation. And that is because Councillor Sessions lives within the proposed locational zone for the short-term rental accommodation. Councillor Marks, also item 12.1 for the Local Planning Policy short-term rental, as he also lives in that area. Councillor Korjitsky for item 12.1 Local Planning Policy, as he is familiar with some of the parties who have made contributions outlined in the confidential attachment at 12.1.2, which is the schedule of submissions. Councillor Sessions has declared an impartiality interest in item 12.2, the petition of the Community Centre tennis courts in Wilson Park, for two reasons. Firstly, that in June 2023, Councillor Sessions put an alternative motion to Council which requested the CEO to include tennis courts as part of the Wilson Park redevelopment. And secondly, in 2020, prior to being elected, Councillor Sessions started a Facebook page called Wilson Park Upgrade, which she still manages today. And then Councillor Korjitsky has declared an impartiality interest also for 13.2.1, which is the Notice of Motion for Elected Members Training and Professional Development Budget. Has he authored a letter to the editor of the Southern Gazette, the Belmont edition, which was published on the 6th of November 2018. And in that letter, he supported professional development for councillors. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you. Announcements by the presiding member without discussion. There is none. Disclaimer. It is 6:35. I wish to draw attention to the disclaimer notice contained within the agenda document and advise members of the public that any decisions made at the meeting tonight can be revoked pursuant to the Local Government Act 1995. Therefore, members of the public should not rely on any decisions until formal notification in writing from the City has been received. 4.3. Declarations by members who have not given due consideration to all matters contained in the business papers present before the meeting. Are there any declarations to be made by councillors? There are none. Public question time. Responses to questions taken on notice from the ordinary council meeting of the 25th of June 2024 are noted in the agenda for Mr Cardoso, Mr Harris, Ms Hollands on behalf of Belmont Resident Ratepay Action Group, Mr Rosalind and Mr Russell. 5.2. Questions from members of the public. It is 6:36 and I open public question time and draw attention to the public gallery to the rules of the public question time as written in the question time form. In accordance with section 6.3 and 6.4 of the Standing Orders Local Law 2017, members of the public are reminded they must extend due courtesy and respect to both councillors and employees. Please do not use inappropriate, objectionable or untruthful expressions or expressions that reflect adversely on the character or actions of councillors or employees. If any expression is deemed inappropriate, you'll be directed to withdraw the expression and apologise. If you do not comply, we'll have to end your question. Lastly, remind and caution everyone present at this meeting to refrain from making defamatory statements, especially considering that these proceedings are now being live streamed. Section 6.2 of the City Standing Orders Local Law 2017 states members of the public can ask up to 2 questions and you have no more than 2 minutes per question to allow time for everyone to ask their questions before the proceedings continue. However, as presiding member tonight, I will allow up to 4 questions per person. I have 8 members of the public who have given prior notice to ask questions, these being Ms Hollands on behalf of Bragg, Bella Scarfenstein, Thomas Whiting, Martin Cardoso on behalf of Belmont East Ward Connect, Debbie Ransom, Jared Harris. I believe, Luigi, you also want to ask a question, but you couldn't write it in. All right, I've got you down now. Is there anybody else, please? If you could state your name. No, we've got everybody. Thank you very much. We'll now go to Ms Hollands. Thank you.
Good evening, councillors, Mayor and public gallery. Firstly, I do not consent to being on camera and any perceived consent is given under duress. Thank you. These are the Bragg questions. At the agenda briefing last week, item 12.1, Local Government Planning Policy 19, short stay accommodation was on the agenda, as it is tonight. Mayor Rossi announced that if any councillors wanted to discuss the confidential attachment, they would have to go behind closed doors. Section 523 of the Local Government Act provides that although meetings are generally open to the public, they can go behind closed doors for the following reasons under 5.232, staff matter affecting affairs of any person, a contract entered to by the local government, legal advice. If it was disclosed, it would reveal a trade secret or information of commercial value about a person or business, or matters which could be reasonably expected to impair the effectiveness of any lawful method of procedure for preventing, detecting and investigating possible contraventions of how the security of the local government. As there appears to be more and more closed doors matters which exclude the public from the details for the purposes of transparency, and this was a matter relating to planning which reasonably could be expected to have an interest to many residents and potentially affect many residents, what reason had this confidential attachment that could not be known to the public in accordance with section 5.232, please?
Director of Corporate and Governance, are you able to answer that now or take it on notice?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think I'll take that one on notice, please.
Thank you.
Question, thank you.
At last month's council meeting following the election, we had a swearing in of Councillor Powell. Once sworn in, she was handed a pile of paperwork. Given prior to this, she would have read, like any of us, what was publicly available. I assume the paperwork was confidential things on the agenda. During the course of the meeting, she was given 10 minutes to read all the paperwork. One of the items was behind closed doors on Stanton Road and very important to a significant number of Redcliffe residents. So my question, even though Councillor Powell is an experienced councillor who had a break of a couple of years, how could any reasonable person think that 10 minutes with a pile of documents was enough time to read and digest what she was expected to vote on during the course of the meeting?
Director of Corporate and Governance, are you able to answer?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Sufficient time was granted to Councillor Powell to read the papers. Although it was given, I think, 10 minutes notice, I'm sure the Mayor would have allowed a lot more time if Councillor Powell had requested it. Councillor Powell didn't request it, and I believe she did participate in any of the discussions after reading the papers.
Again,
Next question.
from the public's point of view, it didn't appear to be too long. To give Councillor Powell a fair and reasonable chance of reading and understanding what she would have in front of her, why did you not do a swearing in the day before as you would normally do? And why is it that from sitting in the public gallery, it appears she was not given the same opportunities as other past newly elected councillors have been?
The Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The arrangement was such that the swearing-in ceremony was on the day. Councillor Powell had the opportunity to familiarise herself with the agenda material and was comfortable participating in the meeting on the day.
Can Council understand what it might look like to the public, though?
Question, please. Thank you.
Okay. Last month, the following motion was unanimously supported with respect to Stanton Road. 1, directs the CEO to pause implementation of the Stanton Road Central Ave to Epsom Avenue Liqueurs project until the findings of the Redcliffe traffic study are endorsed by Council. 2, directs the CEO to proceed with the Western Power lighting upgrade on Stanton Road and 2nd Street as per the current schedule. And 3, directs the CEO to write to residents and property owners within the Redcliffe study area, informing them of point 1 and 2 above and the impending Redcliffe area traffic study and proposed timeframes. I received notification that there was going to be consultation which included one event at St Maria Goretti and another at Redcliffe Hall. Whilst I never disagree with public consultation, my concern in this case is beyond this. So my question, the motion makes no reference to any consultation, only a letter explaining points 1 and 2. Who made the decision to do public consultation when this was voted on, and where was this voted on by councillors? And if it was not voted on, does this mean that our administration are making decisions to do things which are not part of motions, in effect running the council? And if this is the case, can you please provide me with which delegated authority allows for this to happen?
Mr Acting CEO.
Through the chair, unless the Director Infrastructure Services has anything to add, it was a resolution of council and the officers proceeded with implementing the resolution of council, including consultation associated with the works.
Could you just tell me where the vote for the consultation, because in that motion I've just read out it's not there, where would I find that, please?
Mr Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take the question on notice.
Thank you very much. That's it for my grade questions. Okay. I've previously asked about the costings associated with the Adachi trip for students and everyone else. The 16 students were provided $25,488, equating to $1,593 each. The remaining cost of $32,530 is made up of the full cost of airfares, insurances, accommodation and meals for the accompanying delegation supervision team of 6 adults and other items such as gifts and advertising, etc. Could you please provide me with a breakdown of the cost of the airfares, insurances, accommodation and meals for the delegation of 6, which include Mayor Rossi and Councillor Sukula?
Mr Acting CEO.
I'll take the question on notice, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. This year, we've had councillors increase the monies they spend on themselves in terms of legal expenses. The policy now allows them to spend up to $10,000, and worse still, it can be used to instigate defamation action against residents. We've also had chatter in the council chambers, with some councillors wanting to get superannuation, and the pros and cons were discussed. Worth noting on this, however, that the state's tried to do something, but nothing has come of it at this point, as far as I know, due to the relationship that normally exists for super, which is employer and employee. Now tonight, we have a councillor motion from Councillor Davis to increase the councillor training allowance, which have not been increased according to the report since 2007. So my question, although I may have missed it, and although the report states there's not been an increase since 2007, I could not find any notes that state to the effect of that back in 2007, councillors were paid more like volunteers, and they got mainly a meal and some reimbursement for phone and mileage, etc. And now the tribunal set the councillor a remuneration to in excess of $30,000 plus some other benefits. So could you please provide me what page the information might be on that states that about what the councillors used to get, so it puts it in perspective, please?
Director of Corporate and Governance, are you able to answer that or take it on notice?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Let me correct a couple of comments made by Ms Holland. SAT have been, I think, setting fees for local government elected members for a long time. Certainly in 2007 they were setting fees for elected members. Secondly, the report stands on its merits. There's been no increase since 2007, and the inference that elected members were volunteers or literally volunteers in 2007 is certainly incorrect.
Thank you for that,
question, thank
Mr
you.
Downing. I do agree that...
No, sorry, we're not
what you
debating.
said.
Your third question?
I just
Thank you.
wanted clarification. I did ask for the page. I think he's misunderstood if I... Pardon?
Your next question, please. Thank
Excuse me, the Mayor runs this. My next one, in tough financial times for everyone, does the Mayor think that councillors have taken into consideration during other meetings, such as information forums, how this might look to the residents when once again this year they could potentially vote to increase benefits for themselves?
The council will decide tonight.
Absolutely, and what I'm saying is, has the council considered whether it might...
The council will
how it might look?
decide tonight. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
We move on to Bella Scarfenstein. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors, members. Bella Sharpenstone from 140 Coolgardie Avenue. There are two rat-run routes to the airport estate. Durban to Epsom to Stanton and Second. Epsom to Stanton and Second. The Redcliffe area traffic study has revealed the discontent of residents of Durban Road and Epsom Avenue, who have also suffered the impact of increased traffic volumes from out-of-area rat running, and unlike Stanton and Second, also significant levels of speeding. Both Epsom and Durban are the first segments of the rat run to the airport, Stanton and Second being the second segment. The Durban-Hardy Road T-junction is a proposed black spot. Durban residents have complained to the city for several years about the traffic volume and speeding, requesting pedestrian crossings and 50-kilometre signs. They have also petitioned to have that black spot recognised, but been refused by the city and I think Main Roads. One Durban resident was advised by the city that the issue would be addressed, and that was several years ago, and nothing has happened since. Similarly, residents of Epsom have for years complained about speed and noise of increased traffic volume due to the out-of-area traffic running. Durban and Epsom are the feeder roads that funnel rat running traffic into Stanton and Second. Why has the city chosen to concentrate all its traffic calming attention into Stanton and Second, that being only one segment of the rat run routes, rather than distributing traffic calming measures more evenly and equitably across the roads that make up the full rat run routes?
Would you like get us to get a response for you, Bella?
There's just a second part to this question. What is the city's rationale behind their focus on only the final portion of the rat run, and why would placing the L-Kers at the start of the rat run routes not be the more effective deterrent?
Director of Infrastructure Services, there's two parts to that. You may like to ask Bella to repeat aspects if you can't recall all of it. Would you like to go ahead or take it on notice?
Through the chair, I'll answer it as best I can. So the Redcliffe area traffic study is holistic across the Redcliffe area. It considers all feedback from the community and all potential options for traffic calming across the area. It's not just focused on Stanton Road and 2nd Street.
Next question, Bella.
Progression of the DA6 redevelopment or train station activity centre improvement scheme is contingent on infrastructure upgrades, particularly the internal road network. A keystone of the DA6 vision plan is to extend Central Avenue to Great Eastern Highway. Opening of Central Avenue to Great Eastern Highway as planned, but has not happened, as it should have by now, would potentially offer an alternative exit route for traffic travelling from the airport estate to Great Eastern Highway, thereby passing 2nd and Stanton, Lyle and Morrison, and potentially reducing rat running traffic volume by at least a third. Why has the city not progressed the extension of Central Avenue to Great Eastern Highway, and why would it not now attempt to do so as an alternative solution to helping to reduce traffic volume on 2nd and Stanton, effectively killing two birds with one stone?
There's two parts, I think, there. Director of Infrastructure Services, are you able to answer that now or take it on notice?
Through the chair, I mean, the answer is quite similar to the answer to the first question, in that we have the Redcliffe area traffic study, and this feedback can be provided in the traffic study, and that's something the independent consultant can look at. We will be meeting with DPLH next week as part of our consultation for the traffic study, and these matters are ones that we can discuss with them.
Question, Bella?
Yes, can the city explain why there has been such a significant delay in progressing DA6, and particularly in relation to the upgrade of the internal road network? And has the city considered approaching the minister directly rather than through the DPLH, because the DPLH seems to be moving at a very slow pace?
There's two parts there again. I'll hand it over to the Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regard to the first part of the question, the city did prepare a vision plan, as Ms. Schaffenstein was aware. The city also progressed activity centre precinct plan for the area. The department at that time did not give the city consent to advertise and progress that development plan, and conversations with the minister were had at that time together with the department, and it was decided that the department would progress an improvement scheme for the precinct. So that's in progress at the moment. City officers are in continual contact with department officers to progress that plan. And with regard to the road network associated with it, it is appropriate that once the ultimate design for the precinct is finalized, then the modifications of the road network can proceed with more certainty.
Last question.
Is there any indication as to how much longer this will take? Because the DA6 vision plan was first put forward in 2013. It's now been 11 years and counting, and nothing has happened with this. The council has potentially lost $15 million of gross rateable value or return, and it has done nothing to try and recoup that or get compensation from the state government.
Mr. Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My knowledge is that the department had intended to present or advertise a draft plan previously in the previous months. That has not occurred. There are certain complexities which I understand they are working to, and as soon as the information is available, then they would be presenting that for advertising and go through the process of ultimately adopting improvement scheme.
So I take it you
you very
haven't
much.
approached the Minister directly because you didn't answer that part of the question.
The officers heard what you've said. Thank you.
The answer is no.
Thomas Whiting.
Thomas Whiting from Kilgady Avenue, Redcliffe. Mr Rossi and councillors and officers. In 2015 and 2016, at the DA6 Community Reference Group meetings run by the City of Belmont, there was a lot of discussion about the closure of Brearley Avenue, which offered a direct route to and from the airport estate from Great Eastern Highway. Local residents were opposed to full closure of Belmont Avenue, pointing out that closure of this road and opening of Central Avenue would result in Stanton Road, 2nd Street, becoming the rat run routes to the airport. In response to local residents' assertions that closure of Brearley Avenue would increase traffic in local roads, airport representatives were insistent they did not expect or encourage any additional traffic through the area. The same concerns about closing Brearley Avenue was raised with Main Roads, who bluntly told residents, "Get over it, Brearley Avenue is closing." End of discussion. Time has proved that residents who know the area better than anyone were right. Closing Brearley Avenue has created the current traffic problems affecting Stanton Road, 2nd Street, Epsom and Durban. My question
please.
is,
Thank you.
the City of Belmont refused to listen to its residents then. Are they going to listen now with regards to the volume of airport-generated rat-run traffic in the Eastward residential streets?
Get your response. Mr Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take the question on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Martin Cardoso. Your personal questions first.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, city officers and fellow residents. Martin Cardoso from 56 Lyell Street, Redcliffe. The key intersections with Abernethy Road have been the site of numerous severe accidents, causing ongoing community distress. Will there be a community engagement process for the Abernethy traffic study to gather resident feedback, similar to the Redcliffe traffic study? If not, why?
The Director of Infrastructure Services.
Through the chair, I'll take that on notice.
Next question, Martin.
Durban Street and Epsom Avenue share a strong interconnection with Stanton Road, and their traffic flow in terms of access and egress for Airport T3, T4 is directly linked to traffic volumes and the desire to use Stanton. What instructions have been provided to the traffic experts regarding the inclusion of these two important roads in the Redcliffe traffic study?
Director of Infrastructure Services.
Through the chair, we have on our website, the Durban and Epsom are included, and so people can make comments on that. We already have quite a lot of traffic data in relation to traffic movements from Durban into and out of the area, so they will be included in the traffic modelling.
Next question, please.
Through the chair, I would like to direct this question to Mr. Mario Murphy, our Director of Infrastructure Services.
Are you directed to me, and I'll ask?
Yep, through the chair. Through the chair.
Thank you.
Through the chair. The Perth Airport have confirmed that Perth Terminals T3 and T4 will be renovated and expanded prior to the planned Qantas move to Airport Central in 2031. I'll quote directly, open quote, Perth Airport will also invest in upgrades to Terminals 3 and 4, the current home of Qantas domestic and international flights, to create additional capacity while the new terminals are built, close quote. With the knowledge of a planned expansion to T3, T4 in mind, does the City believe traffic volumes to and from T3, T4 will increase, decrease or stay the same over the coming years?
Director of Infrastructure Services.
Through the Chair, we actually met with Perth Airport representatives this week, and we will have ongoing meetings with those representatives. The information that they will provide us will feed into the traffic modelling, and it will be the independent experts who will come up with the answers to that particular question.
Thank you. Martin, you might like to say your questions on behalf of Belmont.
I've still got one more.
Okay,
Yep.
go ahead.
Through the Chair again, I'd like to direct this to Mr Wilmot, who's obviously sitting in the chair, but as Director of Development and Communities, I'd be happy for you to take it on notice. Many LGAs recognise the importance of incorporating planning expertise in the design of a traffic management strategy. Can we ask the Director what role the planning team is playing in assisting the Council's decision-making following the City's receipt of the Redcliffe Traffic Study report?
Mr Acting CEO.
Through you, Your Worship. The city's development and communities or planning teams work closely with infrastructure services to provide information on land uses, prospective development under the local planning scheme, and that's used by the consultants to model the traffic generation to inform the traffic studies.
Thank you.
Your next set of questions on behalf of the Belmont East Ward Connect.
Thank you. T3, T4 airport traffic uses Stanton to and from Great Eastern Highway because it's quicker. Given the substantial ratepayer investment in traffic experts and the expectation of transparency in the decision-making process, can we request a simple comparative table from the traffic experts showing the resultant time delay impact of each traffic model? Is this something the City could request of the experts?
Director of Infrastructure Services.
Through the Chair, we'll take that on notice. I'm not exactly sure how they present their information, but I'll take it on notice and get an answer for that.
Thank you. The Redcliffe Traffic Study is a $60,000 allocation of ratepayer money, and the outcome, particularly the process, is of significant public interest. Can we expect that the entire traffic study report, including all findings, modelling and recommendations, will be made publicly available to the community?
Director of Infrastructure Services.
Yeah, through the Chair, that is the intention. However, there may be some information in there that could be of commercial sensitivity that would have to be redacted, but otherwise we have no problem with releasing that information.
Thank you.
Next question.
Will the feedback from the online survey, online PIN map and in-person drop-in sessions be shared with the community in full within the Redcliffe Traffic Study report? If not, how does the City intend to share the resident feedback with the community?
Director of Infrastructure Service.
Through the Chair, we will actually share that information on the website. We will summarise the information. We will prepare an engagement report that will go to the consultant and ultimately will come back here to Council.
Thank you. Last question. We are aware that the Stanton-Elkhurst project is on hold, but the trigger for its recommencement seems unclear. Can the City please clarify what the phrase, "until the findings of the Redcliffe area traffic study are endorsed by Council," means? Specifically, can the Stanton-Elkhurst project recommence independently and upon endorsement of the simple receipt of the findings of Redcliffe traffic study prior to any public scrutiny of the findings?
Director of Infrastructure Service.
Through you, Mayor Rossi, we'll take that on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Debbie Ransom.
First off, I'd just like to say I do not give consent to being on camera. Any perceived consent is under duress. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, staff and residents. My question concerns the Great Eastern Highway Urban Corridor. The Urban Corridor Strategy document does not mention any heritage landmarks, except for the Belmont Primary School, which will only be eligible for a landmark site if the school is moved to make way for larger population catchment. Can you please give me a definition of what larger population catchment means?
Mr Acting CEO.
I'll take the question on notice, Mr. Mayor.
Next question, Debbie.
My second question is, will the Category 1 heritage property at 517 Great Eastern Highway be retained as part of any future planning process?
Mr Acting CEO.
Through you, Your Worship, the retention or the treatment of any heritage listed property, whether it's on the city's heritage inventory or heritage list, is treated in accordance with the management category and the management requirements of the city's heritage list.
Question.
That's all. Thank you very much.
Jared Harris.
Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors, officers and public gallery. I'm Jared Harris of Cloverdale. Belmont doesn't live stream our agenda briefings, but every single one of our local government neighbours do. Even Bassendean, which has a smaller local government, will not be required to stream meetings at all, is doing more than us. By having these cameras on twice a month instead of just once, like tonight, we could invite the community to understand the context of local government decisions while bringing ourselves in line with the standard practice of our neighbours and most of the 30 Perth Metro councils who have started live streaming. Can the live streaming policy please be amended to include the streaming of agenda briefing forums?
Director of Corporate and Governance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The policy is in line with the determination from the state government, that is to broadcast council meetings only.
Next question.
The timeline for the Redcliffe traffic study mailed to residents says that after the recommendations are considered and endorsed, projects will be considered for budgeting in early 2025. Is that only for new projects arising from the study, or would that delay also apply to the already designed Stanton Elkhurst project, if that is what's recommended?
Director Infrastructure Services.
Through the chair, I mean, Stanton Road project as it currently is designed has full designs ready to go, but if there was changes to that, the designs for that project would have to be amended.
Question.
Final question. Can City please publish the instructions provided for the Redcliffe traffic study, specifically what scenarios will be modelled and what questions are intended to be answered in the study process?
Director of Infrastructure Services.
Through the chair, I will take that one on notice.
Thank you.
We also have Luigi Rosalind.
Thank you to the chair, Mr. Rossi, and to the councillor and the employer of the local government, Pai Bas Pai. I was first asking question, but first I had to explain. So when we asking a question, sometimes we have to put a preamble, so it's not right to stop us. That we come here to ask something. Logically, to ask a question, we have to present the reason for the question, logically. So be patient, please. And at the last council and a previous, I have also be exchanged a few email with regarding the First Street, especially, and the way you've been doing that thing. Now, I was sure the speed bump they was changed. I spent 2 hours in Redcliffe for Saturday, very quiet street. Maybe past the First Street, 7 cars, in 3 hours I was there. Very strange, they say, very traffic. Anyway, and I walk all around there asking, but anyway, I have 2 persons, they say they changed. A few, they say they didn't. Somebody didn't want to know.
Sorry, Mr. Rosalind.
So
I understand you need to do a preamble. You also need to be brief and concise.
So the point, no, the speed bump. The speed bump, I was thinking there was, in the first place, the wrong one, and then I was thinking the substitute, and then apparently there was not. So the majority of people spoke, they said it was not, they are the original. The only problem was they have a speed sign of 30 kilometers an hour at the time when I pass a few times, and after they've been changed to 20 like normally supposed to be. Even the one is 10 to roll before the bridge, they are very easy passing at 50 kilometers. and they had 20, but the other was 30. So maybe my back was too happy. Anyway, coming back to the First Street, I require some work on the bridge, passing the drainage. I've been replied, they refer to the Water Authority. I've been responded by another official by email this week. They will be done inspect by the end of the year. And the council now finally, after put on Facebook some image of the deterioration of the road, the bitumen broke. They say they will refill the gap at the bridge, so we'll be more safe. So thank you for that, they will do. Coming back, also I not managed, I complained last time at the meeting because...
I'm sorry, we need a question. It's been at least...
The question is,
Thank you.
The question is, all the sign being changed again, a stop sign after people complying, a big change to give way, and the bitumen be fixed by the tradesman because it was done properly, and that logically cost to ratepayer because inspection, etc., for official to go there up and down and fix the mistake. That is a question why we had to put up this stuff.
Director of Infrastructure Services, are you able to answer that? Sorry, Mr. Roslin, could you explain which intersection again so the director knows exactly where?
First Street in Belmore, Redcliffe, is close to the main road, was close to go to Greater Stena Way. The planning officer, they know very well which one the bitumen was raised at the intersection.
Director of Infrastructure Services, can you help, please? Thank you.
Through the chair, I do know where Mr. Roslin is referring to, as there's been quite a lot of consultation between the manager of works and Mr. Roslin over the last few days. But can I just ask Mr. Roslin again to clarify exactly what the question is?
I believe I heard right, and please correct me, Mr. Roslin, about you asking about the signs being changed and the broken bitumen. Is that correct? And why has it taken all this to happen? Is that correct?
Okay, maybe my English is terrible, but the Italian is perfect. But I've been informed by the council that they called the contractor to fix the problem with the bitumen at the intersection because of the wrong color, they say. Okay, is that correct? You understood that? Secondly, the signal there was at the speed bump, when first originally put out the speed bump on the second mile, there was speed limit of 30 km/h, and I passed there a week, and go for 2 weeks that, and really at 30 km/h nearly lost the road, the wheels or the road. Third one, the stop sign where the bitumen was raised in the intersection and caused a lot of accident, have been fixed the bitumen there, but also being replaced the stop sign after somebody complying with two sign give way, with the sign give way. So the council worker had to go there a few times to rectify the problem.
So there's three areas. It was the bitumen, the speed bump, the signs there, and the stop sign, which I don't believe is council anyway. That would be main roads. But over to you, Director of Infrastructure. Are you able to take that now or take it on notice?
Through the chair, I won't take it on notice because all of these questions have been asked and answered by the manager of works during the week. What I meant earlier from Mr. Roslin is there an additional question over and above that has already been answered?
Mr. Roslin, what the Director is saying is you've already asked these questions and they've been answered. Is that correct, Director of Infrastructure Service, by email?
Through the chair, yes, it is.
Any further questions, Mr. Roslin?
And my question is, when job have been done twice or people go back to fix, how many times, who pay for? Is the council or ratepayer? That is not a mile on...
Director of Infrastructure Services.
Through the chair, I will just clarify a few things on that, and just it outlines some of the answers that have already been provided. The only change that was made at First and Boulogne was with regards to the asphalt raised platform at the junction. That was incorrect. That was a contractor's error that was repaired by them at their cost. The signs were installed by main roads, as noted earlier. The stop and give way signs are a requirement of main roads based on sight lines, and again, that's main roads who did that work. So there was no additional cost to the city for any of those works.
Your next question?
Thank you, Mayor. I never got an apology for all the report. The question is why we asking a question here at the council meeting and we have correspondence, etc., and they get reply. Sometimes we can be wrong, asking the wrong question, etc., but sometimes we are right. Why we never get one apology? I come here many times, I never get one apology. We are human. I was a contractor myself. I make mistake on my work and pay and say sorry. But here it's impossible to have one time I can hear the word sorry. I never hear. Second question or third.
So I would like to get a response for that for you. Mr. Acting CEO, are you able to answer that?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure what warrants the apology, but we're happy to answer questions during public question time.
Next question, please.
Last month, I reported in writing to the council and to the CEO, and to the CEO, make a note to him regarding children book in the library. Now, I know it's a very contentious issue. It's not only at the city of Belmont. Now, the reply I have is been put on the local newspaper also, and the things are a little bit difficult for the council, but also for the council. I'm asking one question first. Had the council discussed the matter?
Mr. Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The CEO provided a response to Mr. Rosalind at last month's meeting. The response included the avenues to request a review of the book of concern. There's nothing further for council to discuss.
My question was...
Sorry, can I just ask a question? Sorry, can I just, we've gone over time. Have you got a few more questions?
It's still regarding this matter, yes.
How many more? We need to get extension of time.
It's regarding the issue, so it's not, finish off this issue.
So just this question
I will try to be quick.
Okay.
What I said to the chair, what I asked was if the councillor, not the employee of the CEO, had discussed the matter, including you, because you replied to me on the mail, you passing to the people working here.
Director of Corporate Governance.
I've been concentrating very hard, trying to think what the question was. And I'm still yet to determine what the question was.
I believe he asked, has council discussed this?
No, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for that clarification. No, it's not a matter for discussion at council level because it's an operational matter. And as such, it's reserved for the CEO, which, if you recall, Mr. Mayor actually forwarded the letter from Mr. Rosalind to him to deal with.
So my question is to the chair.
Then I need to extend question time because we've gone over. I need a move and a second to extend question time. Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Marx. We'll need to do a vote. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Is it 6? One more. 2, 3, 4. Councillor Sekula? Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you. Carried. Please go ahead.
Yeah, coming
Yes, go ahead.
Now, coming to the point, on the request for reconsideration of library resources, this document I passed to all so the council, they know because I mailed the copy. It's been right. The book, the library staff with professional expertise and experience. Material will not be rejected on moral, political, racial, religious ground if they otherwise meet selection criteria. My question is this. The people choosing the books, what criteria they use? If they're not using moral, political, racial, or religious, which criteria they're using and what qualification they have. Also, I've been told it's not only the library manager choose which book, but they get a list for the government library in Perth. Also, is the development the manager managing the relation with the community. I've been told by the manager of the library, and this manager the book put out, they're reflecting the will of the people of the book they want to be at the library. So I'm asking also another important question: how many books like that have been borrowed? You know when a book is being borrowed. So how many times this book is being borrowed? Because I'm very surprised at the public asking to be put this book out. But me a very minority. Anyway, the question is, if it's not moral, it's not political, racial or religious ground, how they choose this book? What the criteria to choose this book?
Okay,
Is because they look nice? I don't know.
We'll get a response for you, or we'll see if we can try. Mr. Acting CEO.
Through you, Your Worship, as Mr. Rosalind has pointed out, procurement of materials and services are governed by professional consideration and not political, moral, or religious views. We want to provide a space for everyone to belong and materials that reflect our diverse community. So the public library collections cover a wide range of popular topics, express a variety of viewpoints and cultural understandings, and represent a diversity of people, places, events, issues, and ideas. So that's what the collection criteria is based on.
Thank you, but to the chair, the point is that you're not answering the question I ask. I'm asking which criteria be used by this professional. I clarify, you don't choose the book by moral, political, racial, religious. You say there are no valid reason to disclose, to take out a book. So you can put any type of book there.
Mr. Acting CEO,
Based on what?
Is there a criteria that we use to select books?
Through you, Your Worship, I have answered the question. And to add to it, the Ruth Faulkner Library is a registered public library under the Library Board of Western Australia Act 1951, and we are governed by that Act. So we don't promote or discourage particular viewpoints, and we do not censor material, although the library does abide by the federal and state government decisions on banned or restricted material.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Rosalind. There being no more questions, I close public question time at 7:24 p.m. (6.1) Matrix of the Gender Briefing Forum held on the 16th of July 2024. Are there any questions on the matrix? May I have a move and a second to receive and note the matrix? Moved by Councillor Power, seconded by Councillor Sessions. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Carried 8-0. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Ordinary Council meeting held on the 25th of June 2024. Are there any questions on the minutes? May I have a move and a second to confirm the minutes as true and accurate record? Moved by Councillor Sikora, seconded by Councillor Kulczycki. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Carried 8-0, unanimously carried. Thank you. Questions by members of which due notice has been given? There are none. Questions by members without notice. Response to questions taken on notice? There are none. Questions by members without notice. Are there any questions by members? There are none. 8. Are there any new business of an urgent nature? I don't believe there is. Is there anyone? No. Business adjourned from the previous meeting? There is none. Reports of committees? There are none. Reports of administration. Withdrawn items. Are there any items withdrawn? I have 12.1 by Councillor Sessions, 12.2, Councillor Sessions, 12.3, 12.4. May I have a move and a second to adopt the balance of the reports en bloc with the exception of the items 12.1, 12.2. Moved by Councillor Sessions, seconded by Councillor Davis. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Carried unanimously, 8-0. For those people present in the gallery, please note that those items that have not been withdrawn have now been adopted by Council. You're welcome to stay, of course, and observe the remainder of tonight's proceedings, or you may wish to leave when convenient. As outlined previously, please do not rely on Council decision until formal notification has been received in writing. Thank you. We now move to 12.1, but before I start that, I would like to advise in accordance with section 5.232B of the Local Government Act 1995, WA, if there's any questions or debate on the confidential attachment for 12.1, Local Planning Policy number 19, short-term rental accommodation, then Council will need to go behind closed doors. Are there any questions on the confidential attachment for item 12.1? There are none. Then we can move to 12.1. Local Planning Policy number 19, short-term rental accommodation. We need a mover, which is Councillor Sessions. We need a seconder, Councillor Kulczycki. Councillor Sessions, over to you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have put in an alternative councillor motion for this item on the screen now. And my reasons are quite long. I'm very passionate about this item and this policy and the impact that short-term rentals have on our residents, which has been huge. And if not managed appropriately, I think it could be a real problem. This policy is a critical starting point, and the City of Belmont, I believe, are leading the way with this. And I want to stress to my fellow councillors that we can make changes to this policy if it doesn't work. I've had very extensive discussions with the planning team about this, and if it's not working, we can come back and we can make changes. But I do think it's a great idea to get this policy in place right now. Currently, we don't have any policy guiding short-term rentals at all. If we give this 6 to 12 months and monitor it and then bring it back to council, we've also given chance for the state government's register to be in place and be established, and we can see the impact that has on short-term rentals. My reasons for adding a school inclusion zone to this motion are our local schools actually have wait lists to get in now. The only way to get into Rivervale Primary School is if you live in Rivervale. And we can't make a school zone a tourist zone, I don't believe. The state government's promoting safe, active travel to schools, and our city are working with Department of Transport and West Cycle also to promote safe, active travel to our schools. So I think the homes around schools should be there for families that go to them. So I've spoken a lot with Director Lowe about this, and he's going to include short-term rental accommodation stats with our monthly divisional reports as well. So we'll have regular, clear updates about this, how this policy is performing or not. I think as it stands, I think it's quite a risky policy for Rivervale because we're so close to the city there, the Crown Casino and the Optus Stadium, that it could draw short-term rental investors in. But the good news is that the City of Belmont charge commercial rates for all short-term rental accommodation. I think that's a really good thing that we have in place. It's also quite risky for Belmont and Redcliffe due to their proximity to Ascot races and the airport. So I'd really like to give this a try and see how it goes.
Councillor Gulczycki.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support this revised STRA policy that is being presented to Council tonight. This is a robust and objective planning policy that balances the needs of protecting and promoting a long-term housing stock for owner-occupiers across the city from the interests of investors. This policy is further strengthened by the amendment put by Councillor Sessions, which seeks to ensure we promote walkable and livable neighbourhoods with the additional control of excluding STRA properties being considered within the 400-metre catchment area of a school. Belmont is an amazing place to live, and this council ought to be doing whatever is possible to safeguard the long-term housing supply to residents who wish to call this place home. This is reflected in the 5 objectives of this draft policy and the alternative motion before us.
Anybody else wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to speak for Councillor Sessions' motion. I think Councillor Sessions' motion is about keeping community in Rivervale. We have some excellent schools in Rivervale and we want families here. We have limited amounts of rentals as it is that are available for families. So if you can have a rental in the area or even buy, you can near a school, you can walk to the school, you don't need a car, and that's predominantly what we are aiming for, is a society where we don't have to have a car, where we can use public transport or walk. So I think it's an excellent motion by Councillor Sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes for or against? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to quickly ask a question to start with. If we're going to look at this in 6 to 12 months, shouldn't there be a part 3 up there saying that we are going to bring this back to council in 6 to 12 months or state 6 months, or is there something written there I can't see?
Mr. Acting CEO, do we need to have that extra part, or will it be just done? Can it be done internally?
Through you, Your Worship, I'm happy to undertake that the regular information reports and data will be provided for Council to keep track of how the policy is performing. If there's a need to, or if there's an issue that's evident, then officers will take the liberty to raise the matter for Council to consider. Alternatively, councillors may choose to raise a motion for Council to consider an amendment to the policy as well.
Councillor Marks, please proceed.
Could I also ask a question? Considering the schools in Rivervale, when I looked at the map, it became obvious that somewhere around over half of the Rivervale area that was put forward for the STRA will be cancelled out because of the 400 metres circular area that's being taken into account. Now, this obviously applies to other sections as well. Will the officers either take this to an IF, or when they bring back in 6 months' time, I'd like to have an idea what the actual areas are that suddenly we're taking away from the STRA area, because even though, look, I can see why Councillor Sessions is doing this, but there are other areas in Belmont as well with schools involved in them that will also be brought under this attention. So,
I'll get a response for you then. Mr Acting CEO, can you answer that question before I let Councillor Marks speak?
Through the chair, yes, I'm comfortable to undertake that officers can provide a report back to the council, as I mentioned earlier, to report on where the short stay rental accommodation applications are coming in. That can then be assessed against whether there is an actual issue with or a desire for more short stay in the Rivervale area, and how this exclusion zone around schools is impacting that desire, and also weigh up what the benefits or concerns might be around the uptick of such short stay accommodation in along the Great Eastern Highway area. What I would say is it's difficult to preempt what the uptick might be. And the reasonable way to deal with it is to monitor it once the policy is in place.
Councillor Marks, over to you to speak on the matter.
No, I'm quite happy to go. If this is going to be monitored and we're going to inspect the monitoring in 6 to 12 months, I'm happy to go along with the idea at this stage. But no, just to point out that there's more points to this than is being made at the moment, because there are other areas other than Rivervale being brought under scrutiny.
Thank you, Councillor Marks. Anybody else wish to speak on the matter? No? Oh, Councillor Sekula, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I support the motion. The city has always had a very long-term vision or view that the city is a family-focused environment. These two schools that are referenced in this area, St Augustine's and the Rivervale primary schools, are sacrosanct, and I believe that this change to the motion will ensure that will occur. Similarly, I also would like to advocate for a similar approach or a similar view to be taken across the entire city around schools as well. Thank you, Your Worship.
Anybody else wishes to? Otherwise, I'll speak on the matter. Nobody else wishes to speak? All right, before I go back to the mover. In the report, it states the location is within 400 metres of a high-frequency public transport stop located on Grayson Highway and existing tourist accommodation, i.e. hotels, which means we're allowing short-stay accommodation into an area that is partially full of residential homes and families. We mention hotels as an indicator to implement this, and yet the biggest tourist attraction in the city being the Ascot Racecourse and the streets that back onto it in Ascot Waters are not included, as they should not be, as they're residential homes. So why are Rivervale and other suburbs, as Councillor Marks has said, this does not just impact Rivervale, it goes all the way along. Why aren't other suburbs just as important? The alternative motion is a good start and protects areas around schools, which is fabulous, but may have the unintended consequences of creating an even more concentrated group of short-stay accommodation. I appreciate what Councillor Sessions and the officers have put forth. The officers are genuinely trying to control where short-stay accommodation goes. But for me, it doesn't go far enough. As such, I won't be supporting this motion. Councillor Sessions.
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. A few points. I just wanted to speak to Councillor Sekula. When I went through this with the director, we actually mapped other primary schools as well. So this does include all in City of Belmont. And it means that the Belmont Primary School's 400 metres will prevent Belgravia Estate from being included. And Redcliffe Primary School, that takes a big chunk out of the Great Eastern Highway, so they also won't be. I agree with Mayor Rossi's concerns, and I share them, which is why we've had so many conversations with the director about taking the Great Eastern Highway out of this policy wording completely. However, I believe that we can trial it. If it doesn't work, then straight back. I have no problem bringing this straight back to council if it's not working. I'd also like to say that we don't really know the full impact of short-term rentals because most of them in the city of Belmont don't have development approval anyway, so they've all been operating without that. So we don't actually know how many we'll have in the end. And finally, the provision of short-term rental accommodation within 400 metres of a school is actually contrary to the city's local planning strategy, which seeks to ensure low-density areas close to schools are provided for families. And I'll close with that.
Thank you, Councillor Sessions. We'll now go to a vote. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone to vote on the alternative councillor motion. Councillor Marx? That's it. Carried 7-1. Thank you very much. We move on to 12.2. The petition, Community Centre Tennis Courts for Wilson Park. Councillor Sessions, you've withdrawn, I believe. I need a seconder. Councillor Kujitsky. Councillor Sessions, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I would just like to speak on this item because I did try to move an amendment to the officer recommendation on page 71 of our agenda tonight. But due to the statutory approval implications under section 18.2 of the Aboriginal Heritage Act, my amendment to ensure that tennis courts were definitely included in the Zone 3 development cannot be heard tonight. So I support the officer's motion, but I ask my fellow councillors to strongly consider the inclusion of tennis courts during Zone 3 planning in 2026 to 2027, I believe it will be.
Seconder, Councillor Kujitsky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The City has engaged in extensive public consultation on the Wilson Park Master Plan for almost 10 years. The current design is reflective of the community's feedback provided during this period. There are several factors that make it inappropriate for Council to change the design of the Master Plan. Specifically, in 2020, the City was granted special approval under the Aboriginal Heritage Act 1972 to perform works in line with the plans due to the cultural significance of the site to local Indigenous people. Furthermore, Zone 2 of the project is dependent on federal government funding. Any delay in commencing the project and completing it by August 2026 will put this funding at risk and result in an undesired outcome for the wider community, who are very patiently awaiting upon these important works. Accordingly, I support the officer recommendation, ensuring that the improvements to Wilson Park may progress without further delay.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Sekula.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do support the recommendation, and I certainly agree with the tennis courts being in Zone 3. I would have preferred them to be in Zone 2 as they have been there for many years, and many families and kids have played on those courts over many years, and I think that they are an integral part of that area. To not have the courts there, I think, is a significant loss for actually many of our kids. But certainly, if as has been said, if it cannot be in Zone 2, then I would strongly advocate for that to be in Zone 3, and that would simply be a value add to that area. So thank you, Your Worship.
Anybody else wishes to speak for? Councillor Marx, for or against?
No, just quickly, Mr Mayor, I'm very pleased to say the hit-up war continues on, and we will have a a hit-up wall for people who want to play tennis in the area. It's a new one from what we learnt last Tuesday, so no, we have got something going there, if not, it's not yet.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes for or against? If not, I'll speak on the matter then. Yes, we can't hold up the stage. Residents, especially children, are waiting for the long-awaited upgrade. Rivervale is well known to lack public open space, so anything that engages and provides benefit to the children and other users, I welcome. The courts have become a community favourite due to their free use, so the community would like to see this continue. The hit-up wall is a multi-use wall. It's used for cricket and other uses, including practising tennis, but it does not actually replace a proper court. So hopefully incorporating a court or courts into stage 3 sounds like an achievable solution, and so I support this occurring and seeing a long-awaited upgrade of Wilson Park stage 2 occurring, and then hopefully in the next year or two, or I think it's 2 years, stage 3 will follow in a few years' time. Thank you. Back to Councillor Sessions to sum up.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just in closing, there are so few recreational activities available in Rivervale that we really do need these courts back in a few years.
Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Carried 8-0 unanimously. Thank you. Reports by the Chief Executive Officer. Request for leave of absence. I've received 2 requests for leave of absence. A request for leave of absence has been received from Councillor VJ for the period the 1st of August 2024 to the 6th of October 2024. May I have a mover and seconder for the request for leave of absence for Councillor VJ? Councillor Sakula, seconded by Councillor Davis. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. So we'll hold that. Over to Councillor Powell.
I've got nothing in front of me to say about Councillor. Oh,
I need your microphone on.
can you hear me? What dates is he asking for off?
As I read out, a request for leave of absence has been received from Councillor VJ for the period of 1st of August 2024 to the 6th of October 2024. 1st of August to the 6th of October.
Okay. Right, thank you.
Okay. We have a mover in Councillor Sakula, a second, Councillor Davis. And we now have voting is open. Councillor, yes, you have got a question?
I was just interested, Councillor VJ's put in for a leave of absence. He cannot get the leave of absence, I believe, unless the council gives their permission. Is that correct?
Director of Governance.
That is correct. The council has to vote on his leave of absence.
So it's up to the council to make a decision on his leave of absence.
Director of Corporate Governance.
That is correct.
So we have a mover and a seconder, and I haven't heard from the mover or the seconder, so I'm not too certain what their position is on this. And I haven't heard you ask, is there anyone else wishes to speak? Because there may be someone.
I've never seen people debate this before in the years I've been on.
I've never had a position like this before.
I'll seek advice from the Director of Corporate and Governance.
I think it certainly has never been a matter for debate at previous council meetings, which the Mayor has confirmed. That doesn't stop somebody asking a question, because it is a matter for a decision, and a decision can be reached after discussion. Most times, of course, it goes through without that kind of discussion, but it's up to the presiding member. If he wants to open the floor for debate, it's up to him.
What do you wish to know? Councillor Marks, what's your query?
Well, he's already had, what, 3 months, is it? Or 4 months?
3 months?
3 months off, leading to a appearance in court. He is now claiming for another, is it about 3 months, September, October?
No, it's not
August,
seeking 3
September,
months.
October. So you're looking at another 3 months at least to another appearance in court. This could go on and on and on, and we're going to keep him going depending on the appearance in court.
The acting CEO may be able to answer that for you.
Through you, Your Worship, and the Director, Corporate and Governance might add to this. There are provisions under the Act that entitle elected members to seek a leave of absence. I can't remember off the top of my head what those parameters are. It's up to council to determine whether or not it's within that the parameters of the legislation. But all elected members are entitled to seek that leave of absence.
Well,
Director of Corporate and Governance, are you able to add something to that?
Look, thank you very much.
A time frame?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The acting CEO is correct. All elected members are entitled for a leave of absence for a maximum period of 6 months. A maximum period of 6 months. Councillor Vijay has had a period of 3 months to the end of July, the 31st, and he's seeking a period from the 1st of July to his next court appearance on the 2nd of October. Sorry, the 6th of October 2024, which is just short of the 6 month period. At the end of a 6 month period, there is no more opportunity for the elected member to have off. He must return, or the seat is, I guess, if he misses council meetings, he automatically is disqualified. But at this stage, he has every right to seek council's leave to have a leave of absence for that period of 6 months.
Councillor Marks, question?
So really, it's not up to us voting at all. He just can seek it and get it without our permission. Is that correct? That's what I just heard.
Director of Corporate Governance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess in the sense that council could deny him his second leave of absence for the next 3 months, and as such he would then have to front up to the next ordinary council meeting in August, noting that he could give his apologies for 2 meetings, and as long as he attend the October meeting, he'd still be within his rights to be an elected member for the City of Belmont.
Councillor Marks?
And considering his court appearance apparently is in early October, that would mean he could go 2 council meetings, go to the court and then come in late in October.
Director of Corporate and Governance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My understanding his court case is on the 6th of October. My understanding is that's when his court case is, and as such, he notionally will be coming to the October council meeting if he's acquitted. But that's a matter for the courts, not for us. At this stage, the only decision before council, Mr. Mayor, is to grant him a leave of absence, which you have done in all cases that have come before council.
Councillor Mark, question?
Look, this is the first time I've had a case like this, or seen it in 25 years, where someone has been going to court and consequently is getting a leave of absence not to come to the council, but is we'll go to court and then possibly we'll be back here after the court case, say they postpone it again, wanting to once again have a leave of absence, which could go on and on. And the point I'm trying to get across is that we as a council have to make a decision here, somewhere along the lines, as to what, do we just keep dishing out this particular leave of absence?
I would urge caution in how you're saying it. But remember, they can ask for, and please correct me, up to 6 months.
Look, Mr Mayor, he's entitled to ask for a maximum period of 6 months, and at the end of that 6 months, he has to reappear at council. He's required to reappear. Now, technically, I guess he could. He has within a 3-month period. He can only miss 2 council meetings, but he has to attend the 3rd council meeting. So notionally, he could apologise for the October, November, but he has to come to the December meeting. But I don't think that's his intention. I think his intention is to attend court using this leave of absence.
All right, well, I just wanted to bring that to your attention and to understand what the position is and whether he can keep asking for it and we have to give it, or after 6 months now it appears that he can ask again. He still has the right to ask, hasn't he?
No, Mr Mayor. He's only entitled to a maximum of 6 months leave of absence. So come the end of his leave of absence, which is technically to the end of October, he's requesting one to the 6th of October, but technically that 6 months would be to the end of October. He's required to front up to the next ordinary council meeting.
That's going to be interesting. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I move we should just agree with the 6 months that's been put on by the government, and we shouldn't even be included in this. It should be handled by the hierarchy, like the chief executive officer.
Okay.
The
issue is we've already given him 3 months, and he's asking for a little bit more time, short of 3 months, which he is allowed to ask for. But I understand your intent. Now, if there's anybody else wishes to raise anything, please do it. I want to make sure no one leaves here thinking they've not been able to ask their question. Councillor Powell. With your microphone on. Thank you so much.
My question was 3 people in this chamber who was at the court, so I know that they heard what date the court case was to be reconvened and the trial. I was just wondering, the 3 months that he's got left, is that included to the 6th of October? Because that's certainly not the trial date.
That's not what the Director of Corporate Governance said, but I'll go back to the Director of Corporate Governance.
My understanding, well, I know that Councillor Vijay has applied for a leave of absence from the 1st of October to the 1st of August to the 6th of October. My understanding, that was his court date. But either way, that's what he's applied for, and that's what's before Council to consider, noting that he can only apply for a maximum period of 6 months, and Council cannot extend any more than 6 months under section 2.252 of the Local Government Act without going to see the Minister. So at the moment, you just have the issue about whether you grant him the leave of absence for the period from the 1st of August to the 6th of October.
And can I remind councillors, the matter is before the court. That is irrelevant to us. What we have to look at is the question asked. A request for leave of absence has been received from Councillor Vijay for the period of 1st of August 2024, as I've said now for the 3rd time, to the 6th of October 2024. That's all that we're looking at, and that's what we have to consider. Any further questions before we move and we'll continue with the vote? And we'll continue the vote. The vote is already open. Please continue voting. Carried unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. We have a second request for leave of absence has been received from Councillor Davis for the period the 2nd of September 2024 to the 25th of September 2024. 2nd of September to the 25th of September 2024. May I have a mover and a seconder for the request of leave of absence for Councillor Davis? Councillor Sakula, moved by Councillor Sessions. Is there any questions? No? We'll have a vote. Voting is now open. Carried 8-0. Thank you. We now move to item 13.2.1. Notice of motion from Councillor Davis for the budget for training and professional development for elected members. Before we proceed with item 13.2.1, I wish to state that I have declared a financial interest in this item. And as required by section 5.693 of the Local Government Act, I have received approval from the Minister to fully participate in discussion and decision making in relation to this agenda item. I believe you have declaration, Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I have a financial interest in agenda item 13.2.1 as required by section 5.693 of the Local Government Act. I have received approval from the Minister to fully participate in discussion and decision making in relation to this item 13.2.1. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Councillor Kuljitsky, my apologies.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do have a financial interest in agenda item 13.2.1 as required by section 5.693 of the Local Government Act. I have received approval from the Minister to fully participate in this discussion and decision making in relation to this item 13.2.1.
Councillor Sessions.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I have a financial interest in agenda item 13.2.1. As required by section 5.693 of the Local Government Act, I have received approval from the Minister to fully participate in discussion and decision making in relation to this item 13.2.1.
Councillor Ryan. Microphone, please.
I have a financial interest in agenda item 13.1.2.1. As required by section 5.693 of the Local Government Act, I have received approval from the Minister to fully participate in discussion and decision making in relationship to this item 13.2.1.
Councillor Marx.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a financial interest in agenda item 13.2.1 as required by section 5.693 of the Local Government Act. I have received approval from the Minister to fully participate in discussion and decision making in relation to this item 13.2.1. Thank you.
Councillor Powell.
I have a financial interest in agenda item 13.2.1 as required by section 5.693 of the Local Government Act. I have received approval from the Minister to fully participate in discussion and decision making in relation to this item 13.2.1.
Councillor Sakula.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a financial interest in agenda item 13.2.1, and as is required by section 5.69 part 3 of the Local Government Act, I have received approval from the Minister to fully take part in a discussion and a decision-making in relation to this item 13.2.1. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, everyone. I now move to Councillor Davis. Would you like to speak to the motion? Need a seconder? Councillor Sakula.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. Okay, so I would like to move the officer recommendation as printed, the alternative, which is the increase of the budget to $7,450 per year. Seminars, conferences, training courses can vary anywhere between $500 to $14,000 at least. Especially since post-COVID, we have a lot more opportunity to learn and to have conversations with industry leaders globally, nationally, locally. So CPI for professional development has not been adjusted since 2007. The overall measure of cost of CPI increase is 48.4%. So it was in the report here that the officers wrote, where is it? So that in a review of expenses items compromising the budget for professional development shows the cost of travel airfares for the same period has increased 40 to 66% depending on flight time, travel season and how far in advance travel is booked. Accommodation has increased by 50 to 100%. And also something I have noticed since I became a councillor in 2017 is the cost of courses have also increased in training and conferences and seminars and summits. That has definitely increased as well. So professional development, where is it? So basically in local government, we're in a very fluid environment and it is constantly changing. We have, laws that are changing, we have reforms, we have planning schemes that are constantly changing, we have federal matters, we have state issues, we have economic, we have waste, everything is constantly changing. And as an elected member, we need to be on top of this. We need to know what's happening in the industry, so we can lead. So professional development can be instrumental in growing a stronger team and be a valuable asset to elected members. Investing in professional development programs reflects success, becoming leaders and influence in local government. Professional development gives elected members the opportunity to learn from industry leaders, from globally industry leaders, to create a positive impact on society and environment. Upskilling provides the opportunity to learn new skills and knowledge, development leadership roles. In my few years that I've been on council, probably post-COVID, because pre-COVID I only did the diploma, but post-COVID I've had a lot more opportunity. I have never left a conference or training or anything of that matter and thought it was a waste of time. It has been absolutely fantastic to learn what is going on in other countries, what is leading in the way of planning. There's just so much to learn, and it's, if we can to be able to do that on a yearly basis and spend all our budget on professional development that we have, it's an asset to local government and to the residents. So I'm advocating for an increase of CPI from 2007, which has not been increased. And yeah, I hope the councillors approve this. Thank you.
Councillor Sakula.
Thank you, Your Worship. I support Councillor Davis's motion. There is not a single profession, whether it's in government or private, that doesn't have a very clear expectation about the growth and development in an individual's knowledge and skill set. That is considered to be the very basic expectation that an individual needs to be involved in if they're going to grow their knowledge and their skill set. Local government is a very evolving beast. It is now taken on board a range of different areas which, as councillors, we need to have a very good and solid understanding about. In order for us to be able to do that and to do that effectively, we need to avail ourselves to a range of courses or training in order to grow that knowledge and skill set. In the post-COVID years, we have found that the cost of the courses that are available have naturally increased, and in order for us to effectively take advantage of those, we need to have a budget that reflects that increase in cost. And given the fact that the amount of money that has been set aside for the professional learning of counsellors hasn't increased in 17 years, I think this is an opportune time to actually address that issue, unpack that issue, and ensure that that as counsellors we have very clear access to training that will grow the knowledge and skill set that we actually need in order to make an informed decision across a range of areas. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on the matter? Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to voice my strong opposition to the motion requesting additional funding for councillor professional development. And we should take a moment to consider the broader implications of such a councillor request at this time, when some of our locals are having to choose between heating and eating, and the message it sends to our community. Asking for more money for councillor needs at a time when many of our residents are struggling to choose to heat their homes and pay exorbitant food bills is not just inappropriate, it's tone deaf. We're not listening to our community. And we all know that training is mandatory when you become a councillor. Mandatory. If people don't know what the word mandatory means, it means we have no choice. We have to go to training. The SAT uses it as a punishment, an education tool to use for councillors who maybe make mistakes knowingly, and they ask for training as an education tool for those councillors. So we all know there's mandatory training. We have Local Government Week, which is solid training. I've been going for 20 years, so I can speak on experience. It's mandatory training if you go. And people who work, maybe they put their wages above the Local Government Week, I don't know. So asking for more money for councillor needs at a time when many of our residents are struggling. Secondly, our professional growth is our own responsibility, not that of the community. Council is not the place to learn how to become a community leader. That responsibility lies with us at the moment we take office. What message are we sending if we continually request more funds for training when we already have a mandatory training schedule? It undermines our competency and erodes public trust. We all know conferences are viewed as indulgent in times of economic hardship. And also, for those of you who consider yourselves environmentalists, how can you justify the environmental impact of travelling to conferences when virtual attendance is a viable alternative? We all know how good internet is and Zoom meetings, and it was sufficient during the COVID-19 lockdowns, and it should be now. Our actions must align with environmental values, not just when it's convenient. Will you next be requesting the community pay you for flying carbon offsets for your extra travel? Oh, that's right. The council are already going to pay the carbon offsets when they book the ticket. So it's all been taken care of. We are not responsible to our community. If any councillor believes they need further development to join state or federal parliament, let their political party bear the costs. This motion appears as yet another self-serving attempt to siphon off resources from Belmont ratepayers. The community is increasingly disillusioned by a series of such self-serving motions on which the focus on council needs rather than those of the people we serve. I urge each one of you, the signal that voting for this motion sends to our community. Our city needs leaders who are ready and capable, not trainees. We've got plenty of opportunity to learn. It's called experience as well. Let us demonstrate to our community that we're here to serve them, not ourselves, and be the leaders they need. So in closing, let me remind you that the community is not fooled by these self-serving motions. They're watching, and they will remember when it comes time to vote. Let's focus on building trust, showing leadership and addressing the real needs of Belmont. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to speak? Councillor Sessions.
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. I would like to say this role is really, really hard to train for before you're on council. It's not like anything else that I've ever done. And the training that I've undertaken since joining council in 2021 has been invaluable. I take this role very, very seriously, and I want to be good, and I want to continue being better and better. I treat this as my full-time job, and we as councillors make decisions across so many areas of council that we need to constantly learn, and we need to make correct and informed decisions. If we offer ongoing training and support, we're more likely to attract stronger, more driven candidates. I'm so passionate about this role, and I would like to add that, yes, I am supporting this motion and more money towards training, but I also use that experience and give back to the community by volunteering every single weekend. And I'm also on the committee of the Australian Local Government Women's Association. I use my training in that, and I give back that way. It benefits me and it benefits our community, and I support it.
Anybody else wish to speak on the matter? Councillor Marx.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I must say that I've done 25 years of training to this point, or off and on, not as much in latter years, but I've done the director's course and I think planning course. I think I've been something like 7 planning conferences in my time. I have never heard the community say that they did not agree with education of the councillors. Not once have I heard it being said. I've heard plenty say, yes, we agree, but never that they didn't agree. I accept that what Councillor Powell's saying is possibly correct to a degree, but as you will remember, Mr Mayor, every time we do a budget, it's always under scrutiny that no one can afford to pay anything. So every time you budget, you're trying not to charge anyone anything. Like it's no matter where you go in society at the moment, unfortunately, things are not easy. It's never easy. I've never seen it easy. The interesting thing is here that we're not trying to take more money, we're trying to take CPI, which means we're trying to maintain the situation that we've used. Now, this particular idea of conferences was brought in by our CEO, Shane Silcox, back in around about 2004. It was updated in 2007, and the updating was CPI at the time. I remember it. I was here, unfortunately, and I think you were there at the same time, yeah, and Councillor Powell was here. We remember that there was a CPI rise, hasn't been a CPI rise since. I don't think that as hard as the public can be on us, that they can possibly go against education and the maintaining of the amount of money that we spare, because that's all we're doing, not asking for any more. The idea at the time was that back in 2004 was that we would get enough money to possibly do 2 conferences, certainly one. And I can remember you sitting down with a pen trying to work out how you were going to do 2 and what motel or hotel you were going to stay at that was going to give you a cheap stay so that you had enough money. So I don't think we're increasing it with the idea of saying that we're going to make more and do more and more. We're trying to just maintain the situation that we were at. So thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Kudjitsky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Elected members are required to make a range of decisions on matters that they may not have direct professional expertise. We are responsible for the financial management of millions of dollars of ratepayers' money. Development opportunities that add value to our knowledge and supports our ability to make sound decisions, provides greater social and economic benefits to the community whom we are elected to represent. The report outlines the budget for this policy has not been amended for 17 years, and therefore it is appropriate for the quantum to be amended so that elected members can perform in the community's best interests by making informed decisions that are proper, evidence-based and in good faith.
Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Ryan.
Oh, yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I support the motion. Education's paramount in any business these days, and we all know the cost involved hasn't gone up for 17 years. I don't think it's unreasonable. It's not an unreasonable ask, and I support it.
If everyone has already spoken, I'll speak. And I've come from a completely different angle. I don't necessarily not support the increase, but we have a set time to review these policies, and that is after the October elections. Plus, the extra money will only be available after the October budget review, I believe, and then we enter the final year for some councillors before council elections, and that restricts the usage of money anyway for some. I would support an alternative motion that this takes effect after the October 25th elections. Plus, I would like to see an automatic CPI increase applied each time we review this policy in future years, so we're not doing catch-up in the future. Quite frankly, well-educated councillors are of a benefit to the city and their community. Residents want informed and progressive councillors. The benefit professional development is extremely important to the individual person. Teachers do it. In fact, all professionals do training. But I would just simply like this to wait to the correct time to do this. So I support it, but not now. Thank you. I'll go back to the mover.
Thank you. So I'm yet to see an elected member come on to be elected onto council who is a professional or knows everything about planning, environmental, accounting, governance. I can't say that every elected member here knows everything and is above board on all of that. We do rely on reports from professionals, but to be able to have the opportunity to learn about that once you're on here. I came on here from a business perspective, accounting perspective. I didn't know anything about planning. So the more that I can learn about planning, I'm always wanting to learn. With virtual attendance for conferences, just to give you an idea how much they are, you can pay $2,500 to attend a virtual conference. So, yeah, I mean, virtual attendance are not cheap, but they are knowledge and they will make you more knowledgeable. And I also think knowledge is power. So we're going to be a better council for the education. Residents would applaud us for educating ourselves. I can't imagine residents thinking it would be a counterproductive thing to do. I would take my hat off to anybody who wants to take time out of their day to go and educate themselves, to make them a better councillor. So it's just to bring us up with the CPI. It's 17 years, it hasn't been increased. It's time to increase it so we can educate ourselves. It's what it's about. Thank you.
Voting is now open. Six. Carried 6. Do we have all? No, we've still got one more. Who we're waiting for? Councillor Powell? 6-2. Carried. Thank you. We now move to matters which the meeting may be closed. I wish to now close the meeting in accordance with section 5.232C of the Local Government Act 1995. May I have a move and a second to go behind closed doors? Moved by Councillor Sessions, seconded by Councillor Powell. We need to vote. Voting is now open. Councillor Ryan, please. Councillor Ryan, I need you to vote. Thank you. Just press again. Thank you. Excellent. 8-0. Thank you. Would the IT officer please pause the live stream, and those in the public gallery, you'll have to leave the chamber. Thank you so much for coming. Would the IT officer please restart the live streaming? Thank you. Invited the public back into the meeting. We now go to 14.1, tender 1624, profiling and pavement recycling. That council accepts the officer recommendation in relation to this item, moved by Councillor Davis, seconded by Councillor Powell. Carried unanimously. There being no further business to conduct, I thank all those in attendance and close the meeting at 8:31 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody. Safe trip home.